entertainment, insights. Don't take life too seriously. Welcome to Brainski Unleashed. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Brainski Unleashed. Today on our episode, we have Morgan Q. Anderson, enrolled agent, CEO, and founder of Golden Lion Tax Solutions, author of Tax Debt Rule Number 1. There's always a solution. For the last over 24 years, she's represented thousands of clients before the IRS and state tax agencies. She's identified the best solutions to unique problems. She's negotiated with the IRS. She's even dealt with the director of the IRS Collection Appeals Division. This is someone who really knows her stuff. This episode is going to be all about that one thing that all of us business owners are so deathly afraid of. It's about an audit. And based on recent data, it looks like more people are going to be seeing audits coming up than ever before. So you might want to tune into this one. And remember, before we even get started, what is the most important thing you'd be doing right now, aside from listening to me? Hit the subscribe button. I know you're listening. I see the analytics. Lots of views, not so many subscribers. Hit the subscribe button. Keeps me going, takes care of people like Morgan. Let's get it done. Aim number 1, hit subscribe. Okay, let's begin. Morgan, thank you so much. Welcome to the program.
Thomas, thank you for having me. I am excited to talk about, as you said, that one topic that people dread, taxes. It's something that we all need to deal with. And hopefully I can bring a little lightness and levity and positivity to this serious topic.
I mean, everyone loves taxes. Why wouldn't they love an audit at the same time, right? I mean, what's the worst thing you could ever hear? I'm from the government. I'm here to help.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Every time you hear it, you kind of
Yeah,
cringe. That's why,
I cringe. All right.
yeah, people get those love notes, as we call
Mhm.
them, in the mail, and immediately their heart starts palpitating, right? Like, oh my gosh, what do I do? They start sweating bullets. I'm here to tell you, slow down and breathe. You're gonna get through it.
Okay. Moment of
Exactly.
Zen.
Exactly.
IRS letter comes in. It's a moment of Zen. Who would have thought?
Serenity now.
Right. So let's kind of go through this a little bit. It starts with a letter. Would they receive? It's a general letter. Is it going to come via certified mail? How do you normally get notified that the IRS is now coming for you?
Well, it's not so much that they're coming for
Oh, they're
you.
coming for
Keep
you.
that in mind. They're coming to you and saying, hey, we saw something on your tax return that doesn't quite compute. We'd like to ask you to cooperate with us as we look into these areas of your tax return.
Can I play devil's advocate? Can I just play devil's advocate for a moment there based on what you said? And I'm not trying to be
You
argumentative
bet.
because you know this a lot better than I do.
Sure.
When is a tax return ever perfect? And how would the government even know it was perfect?
uh, Great
Of course
questions.
they do.
Great questions. So, a lot of it, your general W 2 husband and wife or spouses that claim two dependents, any type of situation where people are working for somebody else and they're just claiming W 2, unless there is a gross um, underreporting of income received, you may just find a little bit of pushback on credits or deductions that you claim. Hey, you claimed 3 children, but we only have social security numbers for 2. Can you help us with that?
That's
Right.
on a
And
W-2. That's easy.
that's on a W 2, easy,
Yeah.
right? But that's where a lot of the mismatching happens on tax returns and what's reported to the IRS from third parties.
So
Okay.
is so
Yeah.
it's not so much the businesses as it is the individuals with W-2
Well,
full-time employees?
this is a big part of examinations, simple examinations that get flagged in the system. It's some type of mismatch for W-2 people, right? And that's why I say if you get a letter about an audit, don't freak out. Don't go to the, "Oh my gosh, the sky is
I would
falling,"
do that.
because there's usually a simple answer to it. Now, for small business owners, for people who are self-employed, you have a little bit more vulnerability with the way you report your income and expenses and the way the IRS sees it. Like I had a woman who did recruiting and she claimed business expenses on her tax return, as all self-employed people do on the Schedule C. And the IRS has general expense allowance percentages for people in different industries for things like advertising, uh, rental expense. There is a general percentage that is recognized. And when you fall outside of those percentages, it flags the system. Somebody looks at it and says, okay, let's look into this further. And that's when, as a business owner, you get a notice asking for more information about an expense that you claimed.
So if I'm a business owner and I'm listening to you right now, the first thing I'm thinking is, what are those percentages? What can I do to try and
Yeah.
ensure that I am not going to get flagged?
You know what? It's not so much about the percentages, it's just about making sure that your records are spot on,
How do we do
right?
that?
And that you're not trying to claim things that are outside of general business
Such
practice.
as,
Like, I had a client who was paying their children an allowance from the business to shred documents. It's like,
I mean,
you're really paying your 9-year-old child that? Come on.
is it
You can't claim that as a business
is
expense. You're
but
giving them an allowance for something around the
my
house.
understanding is that that is still legal, though.
Mm. But it exposes you to second guessing, right?
Mm.
And anytime you allow the IRS to raise an eyebrow about one expense, they're going to second guess everything else you put on that tax return, right? So be reasonable with your business expenses. If you sit down with your accountant and your accountant says, "Yes, we can absolutely claim this, we can absolutely claim that." When this client got audited and that allowance to their children for shredding documents, and they're under 10, come on. Um, their accountant had said, "We should not put this on the return." And they really wanted it, so okay, fine. It's against the accountant's advisement. And it got flagged and brought up as an issue, and they lost.
Wow. So even though the last time I checked, 77,000 pages of tax law, tax guidance, tax regulation, no one knows what's actually in there. Hypothetically speaking, neither does the IRS auditor. So, who is best to make sure that should an audit come up, you are best protected? One could certainly argue that an enrolled agent such as yourself would be the answer. That is actually the correct answer. I'm giving everyone in the audience the correct answer to this question I'm asking. So the answer is you call Morgan or someone like Morgan
Mm,
who is an enrolled agent. So there's the correct answer,
right.
right? Um, what the wrong answer is, and Morgan, I'm going to pitch this to you. Uh, is the wrong answer to go with the same person that filed your taxes in the first place?
Mhm. That is a double-edged
Isn't
sword.
it though?
Because in some
I'm so
instances, I mean,
controversial.
you're dealing I know you are. You're asking great questions. This is hopefully keeping everybody listening on the edge of their seat. So here's what I would say. If you have an experienced CPA who has years of experience, right? They've handled your situation, they've guided you over the years. Talk to them about it, okay? Because most people who compile a return for you that are licensed as a CPA, they have the wherewithal to know how far you've pushed and was it within the normal boundaries, okay? But if you go to H&R Block or Jackson Hewitt, and I'm not speaking down about them, there's certainly times when they're good to use. But if you have a very involved tax return, you only get out of your tax preparation what you invest into it. If you are a business owner, you should have your CPA on speed dial. As you're making decisions, you want them to weigh in on it, right? So at the point, if you're working with a CPA and you get an audit notice, that's the first person you want to talk to. Hey, here's what they're saying, here's what they're questioning. Can we go back through the records from when we pulled this return together and tell me what you see? And if they say, Boy, this is simple. I'll look at the Internal Revenue Manual. I'll look at what we claimed. We have justification. I'll send a letter. And 9 times out of 10, that communication in response to the notice you receive will quiet the whole situation.
Man, don't take this the wrong way, but you really undersold yourself. So let me spin this around to help you out here. So
No, and the reason I say that is I turn away clients all the time. You don't need me. And I'm just being upfront. I probably sound like a bad business owner, but I have integrity to say if you worked with a licensed CPA throughout the year and you were in constant communication with them and they guided you, they should be able to defend that position taken on your tax return.
let
And
me play devil's
if they
advocate.
aren't comfortable with it, yeah, of
Yeah,
course, reach out to
let,
me.
let me let me just play devil's advocate here because
Okay.
I sort of view things a little bit differently, and I want you to
Okay.
tell me if I'm wrong. And if I'm wrong, I can take it. I'm a big man.
Okay.
Um,
Pay attention,
this
everyone.
is important.
This is going to be fun.
This is very important. I view the CPA in this situation as the general practitioner. You go to the doctor because you got headaches,
Mm,
right? And this doctor's been treating you for 25 years. And this doctor knows you so well, and he's been helping to treat your migraines for the last 15 years. And that's as long as you've been in business, right? And business gives you migraines. That's how it works. That's how we sell drugs.
yeah.
Anyway, totally sidetracked. But you go
Yeah.
to your general practitioner, your CPA, and all of a sudden you now have a bigger headache. We'll call it an audit. And even though this person's been taking care of you, just like possibly having a bigger problem being like brain cancer, it's one thing to contact the general practitioner or the CPA, but it's another thing to go, you know what? I think I need a second opinion. And I think that if people actually contact an enrolled agent and they get punted back, that's at least getting that reassurance that you're going to be in good shape versus, am I going to be in good shape? Can I sleep at night? Am I going to get this right without making that call for that second opinion? Because do you know if that is actually a deadly cancer or if that's just something that could be wiped out, very easily? And I think that's the way that I kind of view it. And you can tell me if I'm wrong here or not.
Great pushback. I get it. A lot of the audit notifications you're going to get though are simple questions. Simple, why did you claim this much in expense? Why did you position it this way on the tax return? And that's why I say your CPA, if you have a great relationship with your CPA and they've been tending to you for 25 years, they will be able to say, oh, that's easy. Here's examples of how we've done it in the past. Here's the IRM that allows us to position it this way. This is why we did it. Right
Okay.
now, I've had cases where the CPA says, I can't handle this. Then come back to me. Absolutely come back to
What
me.
is
And
the
I'll
ideal
tell
buying
you when,
criteria for you then? What is it that people should look at immediately and go, oh my gosh, I've got to go with Morgan? Never again.
sure. So I've had a lot of clients who have used the same CPA for years, and then they start noticing slip ups. Okay. They start noticing that they're not handling things timely. They start noticing that everything feels kind of rushed. They start seeing different positions taken on the tax return. That's when you probably shouldn't go back to the CPA. That's when you should probably go to an EA if you get audited and say, I'm not feeling as confident in my CPA skills to answer the questions being posed. Boy, come to me. Absolutely. If your CPA, a lot of CPAs will say, I don't do audit representation, then come to me, right? But you know that one of the first calls I'm going to make after you hire us is to the CPA to say, okay, I understand you don't want to handle this, or you can't handle this, or you don't feel confident in handling it. Let's collaborate because I want to see your work papers on how this was calculated. So, something that makes my firm different is that we focus on collaborating to handle a tax debt issue with our client and their trusted CPA, accountant, bookkeeper, whomever they already have on their bench. We're stepping in and saying, okay, we're going to be in charge of this play. So let's all work together because it's going to make it more efficient and more effective for every move that we make.
Okay. Morgan, Can we talk about something that we brought up before the show, and that was offers and compromise? Like, can you explain what that is and kind of give a little bit of insight on that for the listeners?
Yeah, you bet. Okay, so an offer in compromise is basically a legal form to settle your tax debt with the IRS or with the state. Not every state has the program, but you're going to see a lot of commercials from big tax debt resolution mills. Everybody's an offer in compromise. We can save you tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars if you have a tax debt. Hire us and we'll get it done. The problem is that not everybody qualifies for this program. It is a unicorn, but it's an attainable unicorn for the people who qualify. So I have a case right now. We're in final negotiations. It's a couple that has a family and they're both self employed. They've worked really hard, but after paying all of their household expenses, over the last 10 years, they've accrued a tax debt to the IRS of over $350,000. Now, they don't own a home. They don't have investments. They don't have any financial security moving forward. They have a few older vehicles. And once you look at their monthly income and their allowable expenses for their family of five, they have minimal money left over, right? So they hired us about a year ago, and it takes this long to get through those programs. We are now settling the debt at $17,000. They owed over
So
350.
350 down to 17.
Yes. Yeah. But let me tell you, I mean, if you don't want to be put under the microscope by the IRS or the state financially, this is not the program for you. You have to be right at your allowable housing and utilities, your allowable allowances for food and clothing for the size of your family and the county that you live in. You can't be driving $100,000 truck and qualify for an offer in
They're
compromise.
not going to
So
give it to
there's
you.
a reality to it. It's so funny. I always see those ads on TV where it's this family and they're standing in front of a big 2-story beautiful home with a manicured lawn and they say, "Oh, I hired XYZ company to handle my tax debt. I owed 300,000 and they settled it at 5,000." Folks, I'm here to tell you that's not the reality of the program. It exists. You can get it done if you qualify. If you think you have a tax debt and you can't afford to pay it, reach out to me. We can talk about it. We always give an assessment to people and we'll look into it. But I don't want to see people wasting their money with chasing something that they won't qualify for just because some salesperson pressured you into it.
All right. As we are beginning to round out our time together today, if you could possibly just put together sort of a visual,
Mhm.
verbally, of course, because a lot of people listen to this and would never actually look at us. But just to kind of explain, what does the audit process look like, feel like, and smell like for the person who's being audited?
Sure. Another great question. It varies, and I hate to be so general, but it
Oh,
depends
very
on
general.
the I know, I'm sorry. That's leaning more towards the different flavors of audit that I talk about in my book. That's the vanilla, because most of the audits that are initiated are at the vanilla flavor level.
Okay,
They're
can
just
can you
saying,
give me the
"Hey,
vanilla
we
with the chocolate and then
sure,
the
yeah."
strawberry and maybe the cherry on top,
Ooh,
a little bit of
boy.
whipped cream?
Okay. Okay. So vanilla is your simple correspondence audit. Hey, we noticed an anomaly. We have a question about this. Can you send us an answer to these questions? Right? That's the vanilla flavor. It's easy to handle. It gets handled via correspondence, and then you'll get a letter saying, "Oh, okay, we see it. Either we agree or we disagree. If we disagree with you, we're going to add more tax. You can appeal it." And then there's a couple of other levels. One of my favorites is the hot pizza that leaves a burn on the roof of your mouth.
Mm,
It's painful,
mm.
but it goes away after a little bit, right? So that's more involved. That's when you're dealing with an exam specialist. There's usually a higher liability threat there. usually between 20 to 50,000 in additional tax proposed. That tends to be because of unreported income. We have all these data sources now that share all the financial activities every month, and it's called the ERP system. I can't remember the acronym, what it stands for right now, but it's basically the financial reporting database that gets funneled to our government. Part of that is like bank accounts, right? If you have deposits of over 5 figures, right? If you have a $15,000 deposit into your bank account, more likely odds are that's going to get reported as an out of ordinary deposit into your personal bank account. Venmo, Zelle, all of them are now required to start reporting at various levels of financial activities. So when you submit your tax return, it usually takes the IRS system to sometimes 3 years to match what you report and what they've received information on. Okay. And usually at the pizza burning the roof of your mouth level, it's because of unreported income. And they're going to say, hey, we received verification that you received income from these different sources. We didn't see that you reported it on your tax return. We believe based on this, you owe additional income tax of $15,000. Right? So you're going to have to deal with it. You're going to have to walk through it, but it'll eventually be resolved. What I call the ghost pepper, the hot chili pepper, oh my gosh, you can't eat anything for 3 days level of audit. Oh, yes, absolutely, absolutely. This tends to be at the corporate level, right? They're going to come in and say, your books don't make sense to us based on the tax return you filed. We're going to go through everything. We're going to assign 2 or 3 agents to come into your office. You need to give them your conference room and you need to give them boxes of paper. You need to assign somebody to answer for every piece of paper that they want to see. Those are nasty.
The ghost pepper hemorrhoid audit involve small businesses, mom and pops working out of their houses, or generally that's not the case?
Only if they get a whiff that there's fraud going
Okay.
on. And I've seen a few of those cases in my almost 25 years of doing this, but not many. Those are usually for larger corporations. And when I say larger, I mean more than 50 or 100 employees.
Okay.
A lot of moving parts. Um, but again, the IRS system doesn't always catch this stuff. It's when they do and they reach out and say, well, we've got a question, don't ignore it. You usually have 60 days to respond to that first notice. Talk to your CPA. If you don't have a CPA and you did your tax return yourself on TurboTax or Free File, reach out to me for sure.
Should the taxpayer be communicating directly with the IRS or should they be going through a CPA or an EA?
If it's a simple thing like you claim 3 dependents and we only have 2 social security numbers, the taxpayer can handle that themselves. Usually that's W-2 people who are living paycheck to paycheck. It's a simple answer. You can handle that yourself. If they start digging into expenses you're claiming on your Schedule A, like high donations that you claim to your church or things, they'll look at it as we need to see some proof here. You'll want to get your CPA or your accountant or us involved.
So vanilla, you're cleared to just give them the document that they may be missing or some evidence. You go to the burning pizza, then you're gonna want to go with the CPA. You go with the chili, the ghost pepper hemorrhoid, you're gonna absolutely need the EA.
Yes,
Okay, very
absolutely.
informative. Is there
You bet. And again, I want to have integrity with everybody who reaches out to us and everybody who's listening. And that's why I say you don't always need to go to the big gun, right? You don't always need to go to that expense. Do it when it's appropriate. And if you need a judgment call, I'm always happy to talk to people and give them some guidance.
okay? And so for people to go to you, they need to go to Golden Lion Tax Solutions, right?
Correct.
And I'm reasonably sure that if you go to that website today, you still will not see any reference towards ghost pepper hemorrhoids. Although I think that would be a really great thing for the website, but that's just me suggesting that.
Absolutely, but it is in my book. You can pick that up in my
The ghost
book.
pepper hemorrhoid?
The ghost pepper hemorrhoid info.
Amazing.
I'm not gonna give you a ghost pepper hemorrhoid.
That's amazing. Okay. Is there any other wisdom you want to impart on this audience? Anything that they should be aware of? Anything at all that you could think of? It's like, hey, you know what? This is a really helpful nugget for my book, or you should just simply go to Amazon and buy my book, or watch me on Instagram as I cook and talk taxes at the same time.
Boy, I like that last suggestion. Go on Amazon, buy my book, read through it. I promise it's not gonna put you to sleep. It's very easy to digest. It has some humor in it. I always like to keep things light. Go to our website. Look through our blog database. I write a blog every week on every topic tied to tax debt. Feel free to reach out to me via LinkedIn, Facebook, through our website. My direct phone number is on our website. I'm happy to give guidance to everybody. What you don't want to do is give up control of the situation of any tax debt, of it being handled by hiding from it. You want to be in control and be proactive so that you can drive the resolution instead of the IRS or the state telling you what you have to do.
Okay. Well, thank you again for joining the program. I deeply appreciate it. And just to be clear, everyone, as Morgan said, and just like my instructions on every program, 5 stars, 5-star review for Brainscan Unleashed. And when you go to Amazon, 5-star review for the tax debt. Rule number one, there's always a solution. That is Morgan's book. 5 stars, no less, is accepted. Once again, hit the like, hit subscribe, and tune in. Thanks so much for listening.